Tonight on KGW News, Oregon's Secretary of State steps down.
You cannot rebuild trust from a breach of this magnitude.
So after her sudden resignation, who will take over? Plus, taking the off-ramp when it comes to tolls, the new move from Oregon's governor that pushes pause on paying up. And later, a rite of passage with an often expensive price tag.
None of our kids could have afforded the prom attire.
How a local student stepped up to make sure her classmates could arrive in style.
It makes me feel delighted that they can get their opportunity that they deserve.
Good evening, and we begin tonight with new gun control efforts in Oregon. Thanks for joining us. I'm David Mulco. With the measure passed by voters still tied up in the courts, the State House today passed a more narrow bill. Supporters say they hope will cut down on violence. Alma McCarty's been following the proposal since it was first introduced. So, Alma, what changes would this make?
Well, David, HB 2005 now moves on to the Senate for approval. It raises the age to purchase a gun and deals with the issue of so-called ghost guns. Supporters call it modest but meaningful, while opponents call it extreme and say it won't make our streets safer.
No, the clerk will open the voting system.
After an hours-long debate on the House floor Tuesday, opponents of House Bill 2005 voted, shouting a constitutional no.
Constitutional no. Deal votes no. Representative Elmer, how do you vote? Representative Elmer votes no.
However, with the majority voting in favor, 35 to 24, the gun violence prevention bill passed and moves now to the Senate.
Overall, it reflects a common-sense approach to a problem we all wish, and I think I can speak for everybody, we all wish we did not have to try and solve.
As a responsible gun owner myself, I understand that we must respect people's right to bear arms, as well as people's right to live happy and fulfilling lives.
This offers an Oregon solution to an urgent nationwide problem, and it will make our communities safer while respecting the rights of responsible gun owners and giving high regard to Oregon's heritage and culture of hunting and recreation.
Representative Lisa Reynolds is a chief sponsor and has worked on the bill with other lawmakers for nearly a year.
I do think this is a modest but meaningful, a very practical, common sense bill. Those are words we throw around a lot, but I do really feel, I have to be perfectly honest, there's times I wish it were bolder, but I'm really proud of the work that we've done.
The bill does three things. First and foremost, it bans undetectable and or untraceable firearms, so-called ghost guns. This topic spearheaded by Attorney General Ellen Rosenblum.
I call it the fourth time's a charm because I've brought it forward 4 sessions. This is the fourth one, and I hope it's a charm.
The legislation also raises the age to purchase and possess firearms from 18 to 21, with some exceptions. And finally, the bill gives local control to municipalities to decide whether they want to prohibit all firearms in and around public buildings.
To the bill.
House Republicans expressed their ongoing concerns and fears about the bill, calling it expansive and flawed.
We keep passing more gun laws and expecting gun violence to decline. Gun violence is not declining.
In classic Oregon fashion of late, we deny the rights of honest, law-abiding citizens without actually tackling the real problems. This bill feels good and does nothing.
I am passionately and wholeheartedly no on this measure.
Okay, Alma, Oregon's last major gun control effort, that is Measure 114, it's still on hold. It's facing state and federal court challenges. Any sense this proposal, if passed, would face a similar fate here?
Well, David, Oregon House Republicans certainly think so. In a statement today, they said the U.S. Supreme Court previously ruled laws like this unconstitutional. They committed to donating $25,000 to support any litigation. It's worth noting there is a bigger gun control measure being considered in the Senate right now that more closely mirrors the changes Measure 114 was trying to make.
Thanks, Elma. Appreciate the follow-up there. Let's get you caught up on tonight's other headlines now, including a driver under arrest this afternoon after police tried to ticket him for doing drugs. Police say that's when Zach Hanley sped away from the bike officers downtown and then crashed his vehicle into another. Hanley ran from that rollover crash at Southwest 4th in Washington, but police say they caught up. The suspect and 2 people in the other car were treated for non-life-threatening injuries. A plan that would allow Oregonians statewide to pump their own gas is now moving forward. Today, the Senate held a hearing on a bill that's already passed the House. The proposal would require stations to offer both self-serve and full-serve options. Supporters say it would give consumers choice and help with staffing shortages. Some opponents say they are trying to preserve jobs. And Washington's Attorney General Bob Ferguson is launching an exploratory campaign for governor. The news comes a day after Governor Jay Inslee announced he will not seek a fourth term in 2024. The exploratory campaign allows Ferguson, also a Democrat, to collect donations without formally announcing a run. He's been the Evergreen State's AG for over a decade. Well, it's a continuing coverage tonight of Oregon Secretary of State Shemia Fagan's apology, which today quickly turned into a resignation. Fagan's announcement coming just a day after she ended her side job for a cannabis company and said she would do what it took to restore trust. So Fagan was working as a paid consultant for the owners of La Mota, that's a marijuana dispensary chain, while her team audited cannabis regulations. She has insisted she did not violate any ethics rules and there was no conflict of interest. Though in her resignation statement today, Fagan said it was clear her actions had become a distraction. KGW political analyst Betsy Johnson called Fagan's move to step down the honorable choice, then pointed to the enormous burden on whoever takes the job next to restore public trust.
It is inconceivable to me that somewhere a light didn't go on to say, while she believes she followed the letter of the law, the optics of this were so bad. She knew what the salary was of the Secretary of State before she ran.
Well, Johnson, they're referring to the $77,000 salary, with Fagan saying it wasn't enough to support her and her daughter. Okay, what is next? First, Deputy Secretary of State Cheryl Myers, she takes charge on Monday. Then Governor Kotek will appoint a replacement. Now, normally the Secretary of State is next in line to be the governor, but since her pick won't be elected, they will not, under the Constitution, qualify. Instead, that duty will fall to State Treasurer Tobias Reed. So we, of course, will keep you posted. Staying in Salem, we have an update tonight about what is called the Right to Rest bill, which would make removing homeless camps from public property illegal. So last night we reported while it was not moving forward this session, the House still planned to hold a public hearing. Well, 24 hours later, that has been scrapped, with the Oregon House Majority Leader calling it a distraction from other legislative business. Now, as written, the proposal would allow homeless people to sue for $1,000 if they are harassed or told to move, as long as there was nowhere else for them to go. The plan also made national headlines. Those who put this bill forward say they plan to reintroduce it in the future. Okay, something else that is not going ahead in Oregon, highway tolls, at least for now, with the governor now pumping the brakes on plans for I-205. Pat Doris looked into why earlier on the story.
The first tolls were scheduled to start late in 2024. Instead, Kotek ordered a pause until January of 2026. So that's a delay of just over a year. Those tolls were set to start on the Abernathy and Tualatin bridges in Clackamas County. The Abernathy Bridge is being worked on right now to add lanes and protect it against earthquakes. Tolling would be added there to pay for the work and also to ease traffic jams. Political leaders and residents have pushed back hard against the tolling plans. They're concerned about the costs of crossing the bridges and the potential traffic nightmares in their neighborhoods as drivers get off the interstate to avoid the tolls. So here's what's happened. Last week, a group of lawmakers from the Clackamas area introduced a bill which would have forced a 2-year pause in tolling. Instead, the governor issued the 1-year pause, and legislative leaders set up a new committee to monitor ODOT's infrastructure repair and modernization plans, including efforts to mitigate the impact of tolling on vulnerable communities, according to a press release from the lawmakers. But don't confuse that with tolls are not going to happen. They are still very much in the funding mix of choice right now for the Department of Transportation. Now, I know some of you are supporters, and that's fine. For those who are against the tolls, a man named Dean Scher would like to talk with you. He's the creator of something called IP4. He's trying to gather 200,000 signatures to force a statewide vote on this. If passed, his initiative would allow people within 15 miles of a planned tolling area to vote to approve or to stop that toll. He says if you're against the tolls, don't relax just because there's a pause.
Folks may lose interest, but the reality is this is just a pause. It's a pause until 2026. It does not slow down the plans. It might slow the starting of the credit cards being charged, but it is only a pause. IP4 puts the control in the hands of the people through a vote before tolls. So it's absolute.
Sure is hoping to gather enough signatures by this time next year and take the issue out of the hands of the legislature.
Quick reminder, you can catch the story each weekday at 6 here on KGW for more in-depth takes on the big issues affecting our community. Well, developing tonight, a Portland artist is asking for help finding a stolen bike. Matthew Hall said someone broke into his studio in St. John's this past weekend and took a sentimental bike that once belonged to his late friend, Brett Gerolamick. Brett was a well-known bike racer who died back in 2007 in a crash on North Interstate Avenue. Hall said he hopes whoever took the bike along with some tools understands that and returns it.
It's not even the value of the bike that's important. I mean, the bike does have value as far as dollar value, but the sentimental value is far, far greater. I can't replace it. It means a lot to me. It's extremely valuable to me. I don't really care about any of the other stuff.
Well, Hall said he filed a police report and posted on social media and adds he'd only ridden the bike once in a memorial race for Brett.